Alright, we're going to take a look at developing the Dflange drawing here, the model, which is really a collection of mirrored sketch entities revolved to create a feature. And in addition, we've got a pattern of holes here. So if we were to study the drawing here for a moment, we can see that this is going to be our top view. And noticing the symmetry here, we can determine that using the section that's provided, we can actually turn the sketch on its side and develop it in the right profile. Now, you can see that if we look at one half of this top sketch, that it's symmetrical on the other side. Okay? So a couple things that we want to keep in mind include using the origin to orient our sketch lines to produce our model, and to use center lines for axes for mirroring some of these sketch lines. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll move this out of the way so we can lay out our model. I'm going to start first with a part, and then we're using decimal inch units. And what we want to do here is, like I said, we know that we have the top view, and we're going to use the right plane here. And so when I create a new sketch there, I want to be able to see the origin, and I want to set up a couple different axes. First, I'll start with center line. Okay, I'm going to come around the origin and create a horizontal reference line there. Hit escape, come up again, and then create my long vertical construction line there through the origin. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this horizontal construction line in order to create a dynamic mirror of entities that I create next. What I'm going to do is simply sketch roughly the profile, and then I'll be able to add some dimensions by studying the drawing a little bit more. So just using the regular line command here, I'm going to start on the center line there. I'm going to come up some distance here vertically. That's going to be part of the hole through, and then I'm going to create the lip for the counterbore there, just roughly sketching something, and then the top of that counterbore, and then coming back down to create the outer diameter. Okay, and just stop right there at that construction line. So here, if I escape, now you can see the profile that's going to be revolved. So if I take a look again at my sketches, right, you can see the dimensioning provided here, so you can lay out these sketch lines correctly to the dimensions shown. So let's take a look. Okay, remember we turned this sketch on the side. So starting with the hole here, okay, that should be a diameter of 2. Right? So dimensioning from this edge to the center line here, this is also just half the hole, right? So I could just type in 1 or even do an equation to get half of 2. The other thing is that I have a 4-inch outer diameter for that counterbore, and then the inner diameter there is 3, right? So this inner diameter here to the center line is going to be 3, or, sorry, if I go 3 divided by 2, it's going to give me the 150. And then from here to, again, the center line there, it's going to be 2, right, from being half of 4. So we got that. Now the outer diameter there is a total of 8. So once again, if I just come to the center, it's going to be half of that, or 4. Great. So we got that. Now let's take a look at the thicknesses. The counterbore depth, so from this distance here down to the counterbore there, that's a total of 1. Now notice, you'll see because I I created the bottom half, right, as a dynamic mirror, it also updates automatically just by dimensioning one side of it. Now, the other thing I have here is 150 for a dimension between here and here, and then a total from here to there of 350. Right? So there's our full profile. I think we got that right. Alright, so now that we confirmed all our dimensions, let's go ahead and take a look at features. You'll notice we're going to be using a Revolved Boss. I'll go ahead and select that. It goes into isometric view, indicating selection for the axis of revolution. Now I'm going to select, in our previous sketch, the vertical construction line there. And now you can see the preview of our revolve. Okay, it looks like everything's there that we need. We'll go ahead and click OK. And now we can start taking a look at creating the pattern of holes. Now for that, I think what's important here is, let's think about one. If this part fits in with an assembly of parts, we need to consider how it could change, right? The overall height could change. The dimensions in the symmetrical sketch could change too. Okay, so that means that this thickness could change. And keep in mind, if we take a look at the top plane, it correctly bisects the part, right? So here's what I would suggest to you. In this case, instead of using the face to actually create our cut, I'm going to use the midplane and be able to cut in two directions. Okay? Cut in two directions. And the way that I'll be able to do that is, let's select the top plane here, create a new sketch, and then let's use our heads-up display to go to normal view. And so we're right inside of it. Okay? And again, I already have my origin visible here. I'm not going to draw any additional construction lines. I could, but let's set up for the whole pattern, right? So the first thing is this. I'm just going to do one, actually. I'll go from the origin there, create a vertical construction line, and then use a circle to start at the origin and just sketch a circle there. This one's also going to be for construction because it represents the center for the holes. What I'll be able to do here is first use Smart Dimension and show it as 6, right? That's the bolt circle. Now I'll create one of these holes as a sketch, and that should be 0.75 diameter. So let's go to circle. Let's find the intersection there. You can see the tool tip, right? Intersection. Place the circle. Use Smart Dimension. Dimension it to 0.75. 0.75. Okay. Now we know we have a total of 8 that go through 360. So again, at this point, since we're working in the sketch, I would go ahead and use the circular sketch pattern. Okay. What you want to do first is you want to indicate where is the center. We're going to use the origin. Next, we want to indicate how many of these objects we have. We got 6, 7, 8. Right? And now, what are the entities to pattern? We're going to pattern the circle. Okay? So we set up the parameters for the array, the circular pattern, and determine the number of instances or copies that we want, about which angle, full 360, and let the computer decide what's the spacing. And you can also see here in yellow the preview. Looks like everything is there. I'll click OK, and now we take a look. So we got a sketch inside a solid. But what I need here are cuts. So I'm going to go over here to Features and use Extrude Cut. And this is where we can see you got direction 1 and you got direction 2. We got only direction 1 on. Let's start with that one. We'll go up to next, and you can see direction 1 is actually going down, right? I can make direction 1 reverse, and now you can see it's going towards the top. If I turn on direction 2, I'll do the same thing here. I'll use up to next, and now you can see going to the next face, right? Now the reason why I'm doing this again is because if the thickness, right, of this wheel, whatever it is changing, the holes will always penetrate, right? No matter what. It means the least amount of effort on your part to ensure accuracy, right? I'll go ahead and cut it, and there we go. Okay? There's our part. Now, one thing that's interesting too is, look at this. I'm going to use the front plane real quick and switch over to section view. This is what's really interesting, because this is how you can confirm your profile, right? And you could actually pull that live section through so you can examine the entire model, right? And you could do this using a variety of planes, right? Just grab that arrow right there dynamically, and you can start to see right through the model, through every square inch of that model, in fact. And to turn off the section view, just use your heads-up display. Alright, so that's the D-flange.